want to be faster. We all want to be stronger. We all want to be smarter. We all want to be number one, or the best in the world at what we do. However, like Cristiano Ronaldo, we don't all start out first. In fact, most of us start at the very back of the line. But our aim is to get to the front and become number one, where we can be acknowledged as the clear leader. But in order to get to the front, we have 3 options. Option 1 is to follow the leader. Quite simply, following the individual, the brand, the organization in number 1 spot. You accept the fact that the leader is in a better position than yourselves, and you are satisfied in following their lead. But following their lead means you will be competing with others. And as you can see, the view is not ideal. It's difficult to look ahead. It's impossible to predict the competition's next move, and you're trapped. There's option 2, and that is to overtake the leader, where you're willing to do everything it takes to beat the competition, so ultimately you can be seen as number 1, and leaving all competition behind. However, similarly to option 1, the view from the front is actually not ideal. Overtaking the leader means you are constantly looking behind. As the competition chases you down, you'll begin to lose track of what's in front as you continue to look behind. And as you feel the pressure. Thankfully, there is another option. And option 3 is being different. Now, if you were to ask an F1 driver, what is their ideal view? This would be it. An empty start grid with no other participants, where they can drive their own race at their very own pace on their very own circuit and not be worried about any competition chasing them down. The main reason, they're guaranteed to win. There's no other competition, which importantly means they get the champagne celebration every single time. Which leads on to my story of how I've been able to be different. So I'm going to rewind 6 years, all the way back to 2012, where I was at Loughborough University studying for my business management degree. So here I am, a university student with a lifelong passion for sports, and in particular football. So whilst my time at university was all going to plan, all of a sudden I was faced with a problem. I had an addiction. I was addicted to Twitter, a brand new social media platform that was taking over the internet. I couldn't put my phone down for more than 5 minutes. I was fascinated with the way the platform was connecting people and the conversations that were being generated online. And in particular, sports fans, whether that was conversations around football news, results, fixtures, transfer gossip. I was hooked. But I realized something. All the big sports corporations were all the same. The largest sports corporations are all the highest followers on Twitter. And they were all covering and talking about sport the exact same way. Boring, repetitive, and disengaging. Which simply didn't engage me or the younger generation on the platform. That was the moment I had a brainwave. What if I combined my passion for sports and my addiction for Twitter? And I had an idea. I wanted to create my very own sports Twitter page that was completely different to the big sports corporations. And boom, this was it. The birth of BBC SPORF with an F. I simply changed the T for the F, and I'd created a parody page of BBC Sport that a few of you may have seen. Now, a parody page is essentially a humorously exaggerated imitation, and I was doing that with the way I covered sports. And here it was, Starting with 0 followers and a vision, BBC Sport was going to challenge the way these large corporations were covering sports, with the aim of engaging the younger demographic of sports fans. Now, with 0 followers, I now realised BBC Sport was at the back of the line. So I was faced with 3 options. First option, follow the leader. But I didn't want to follow these. These large sports corporations were going in the direction I didn't want to go. And I knew I couldn't do option 2 of overtaking the leader, as this is what I was competing with. State-of-the-art production studios with teams of experienced sports reporters and budgets to cover and broadcast sports content 24/7. Now, unfortunately, this was my office. A university bedroom with a single bed, an uncomfortable chair, and quite frankly, terrible Wi-Fi. But I knew I had something money couldn't buy. Whilst the sports corporations were covering sports like this in a boring, repetitive, disengaging way, I had the ability and the creative mindset to cover sports like this, using memes, jokes, Photoshop edits, viral trends. These were super relatable and shareable and engaging with the younger demographic. So, whilst I should have been busy revising for my exams, which I probably shouldn't admit with my mum and dad sitting right there, I was busy creating the most talked about sports page on Twitter, with the likes of BuzzFeed promoting SPORF, Shortlist nominating myself as the #1 page to follow on Twitter, and newspapers using my tweets in articles. And as you can imagine, this virality and exposure meant BBC Sport started to grow and grow and grow. And within 6 months, I had surpassed 250,000 followers from my bedroom, with some of the most followed sports stars and celebrities suddenly becoming fans of the way I was covering sports news. As a result, BBC Sport had created its very own race, covering sports and news in a unique and different way. And quite frankly, I'd eliminated all competition. But whilst the journey of BBC Sport had only just begun, I soon encountered my very first challenge. As you can see, BBC Sport at this stage was just approaching 650,000 Twitter followers. However, I was suddenly faced with an unexpected situation. BBC Sport now had competition. The channel's success and brand growth meant others now wanted to be part of the race I had created. And I now found BBC Sport at the front of the pack, being followed and chased by pages covering sports the same way as myself. Again, this was the moment I realized I now needed to leave the race I had started and create another brand new one. And this was it. Rebranding BBC Sport. By dropping the BBC from the name, I was now able to transform the page from a parody to a sports digital publishing brand called SPORF, which is the brand you see and follow today. So by transitioning from a parody page into a sports publishing brand, SPORF was now able to launch cross-platform: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and of course remaining on Twitter. And as a result, SPORF had created its very own race. Again, SPORF was now the only participant. No other sports media publisher was actively using all other platforms, simply eliminating all Twitter-based competition. So fast forward to 2018 and present day, I'm proud to say that SPORF is now approaching 15 million followers cross-platform, 500,000 likes on Facebook, almost 13 million Instagram followers, 30,000 subscribers to our new YouTube channel, and 1.2 million followers on Twitter. That's right, 15 million fans, which just goes to show anything can be achieved by doing things differently. Now, hopefully, my story can inspire everybody else in this room, as anybody else in this room has the ability to be different. Now, the easiest way to unlock this is to follow blue ocean strategy, a marketing theory by theorist Chan Kim. Now, Chan believed there were two oceans, the first ocean being a red ocean. The ocean is fierce, choppy, dangerous, and difficult to swim in. The second ocean being a blue ocean, where the water's calm, clear, tranquil, and a pleasure to swim in. The concept can be brought to life through business, where we need to avoid the red ocean and aim for the blue ocean. It's therefore important to understand the difference from a business perspective. In a red ocean, a market space is where several companies already compete. And the aim is to beat competition and ultimately exploit existing demand. Whereas a blue ocean is an uncontested market space for an unknown industry, where the aim is to make competition irrelevant and create new demands. Now, in order to achieve blue ocean, you must create a new value with your business. Now, in order to do this, you need a combination of the following factors. And the first factor is to raise. What can be raised above the industry standard? The second factor is to create. What can be created that the industry has never offered before? The third factor is to reduce. What can be reduced below the industry standard? And the fourth and final factor is to eliminate. What can be eliminated that industry competitors rely on? Now, to help you understand this concept, I'm going to share with you my favorite example of blue ocean strategy, which dates back to 2006 and the battle for the next generation of video games console, where Sony and Microsoft were going head-to-head in competition to see which company was going to sell the most video game console units, the PlayStation 3 or the Xbox 360. And as a result, this left Nintendo at the back of the line, with Xbox and PlayStation going head-to-head. The company, Nintendo, was therefore faced with three options. Option 1, follow the leader. Option 2, overtake the leader. Or option 3, being different. Now, Nintendo realized competing with the PlayStation and Xbox would result in a red ocean. So instead, Nintendo chose option 3. They were going to be different. And they had the product that was going to change video gaming forever. And this was it. In late 2006, Nintendo revealed a brand new console, the Nintendo Wii, a console that didn't look to compete with PlayStation and Xbox 360. Instead, it was going to be different. So whilst Xbox and PlayStation were in direct competition, as seen by the similarities in their controllers, Nintendo created a whole new user experience with the invention of their new controller, the Wii Remote. This decision therefore created a blue ocean for Nintendo. And as this new technology completely changed the video gaming experience, users could now interact and influence their favorite games. And as a result, Nintendo opened up a completely new market for themselves. Families, and ironically, non-gamers. Consumers were buying the console simply to try out the new motion technology, a market in which Xbox and PlayStation simply couldn't compete in. Therefore, Nintendo were now enjoying their very own race, as they had eliminated competition of both Xbox and PlayStation. So by doing things differently Nintendo had created a new value, which can be visualized using the Blue Ocean Strategy framework. Nintendo had raised the fun factor with the new motion technology, and they had raised retail store involvement as people were going to the shops to try out the new technology. They had created new motion technology which neither Xbox 360 or PlayStation had, and therefore created a new market space with a demand for families and non-gamers. They had reduced development costs, having focused on motion technology rather than graphics, and reduced production costs by focusing on the experience rather than the storage. And finally, Nintendo had eliminated competition, as Xbox and PlayStation could not replicate this technology, which therefore removed their competitive advantage. And what's amazing about this story is, to this day, Nintendo have sold 101 million Nintendo Wii units, in comparison to Xbox's 84 million and PlayStation's 83 million. Ironically crowning them the winners for the most next-generation video console units sold, all by doing things differently. So I'm going to leave you all with a reminder today. To be number one, or the best in the world at what you do, you all have three options. You can follow the leader, but you will have no influence on the direction in which you are heading. You can overtake the leader, but you'll be chased by competition and find it difficult to look around. Or you can be different, where you can eliminate all competition and enjoy your very own race. Thank you.